Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia. Escalation. No, there's no other word to put it but escalation. Russia has escalated their special military operation into a more bigger special military operation. So it's still a special military operation because the mobilization is only partial. And this partial is very, very partial because they will be mobilizing 300,000 troops from their reserve, combat reserve. So these are not conscripts. These are not the people that are that never went on military operations before. These are actually soldiers that have went on military operations. Whether the level of danger they are in those military operations are uh, can be very wide. Some went to just peacekeeping in some pretty safe places. Some actually have to fight in Syria against the ISIS or the Syrian rebels. So however, it's still 300,000 troops, but it's only partial because the reported reserve by Shoigu, the Russian defense minister, he said that the total number of the Russian reserve, combat reserve, is actually 25 million. 25 million. So let's look into the escalation that is coming out from all these things. First, let's start off with the mobilization. So Putin has in an address, this address that was originally going to be announced 12 hours, no, not 12 hours, maybe 16, 15, 18 hours ago before this recording. The announcement was actually delayed by half a day, and then it was finally announced around 12 hours ago. So the Putin said that they will do a partial mobilization, and only the citizens that are currently in the reserve that have served the armed forces with specific military specialties and relevant experience will be subjected to conscription, which means most likely anyone that has served in Syria or Azerbaijan, Armenia is going to be called up, like, for sure. So anyway, the units that are called out for service will be sent to additional military training, and this to take into account the experience of the special military operation, because the experience that the Russian troops have through their training, the doctrines that they were trained in, versus even their and also their their operational experience in Syria or Armenia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, or anywhere, is not exactly relevant to the real total war situations happening in Ukraine, where your enemy is waging total war, and they have advanced weaponry, unlike fighting against Syrian rebels or fighting against ISIS terrorists. So this training will ensure that they will be educated and learn the real situation on the ground and how to fight the war, unlike what they have trained previously. So according to an interview with Sergei Shoigu, the defense minister, he revealed that they will be calling up 300,000 reservists, and this is only accounting for just over 1% of the Russian full mobilization potential, because they said that they have 25 million. So where's the number? Yeah, because they have almost 25 million reserves, and because of this huge mobilization resource or human resource that they have, they will not call up those conscripts, and they will not call up you see the conscripts will continue to serve as they did on the territory of Russian Federation. They will not concern all these conscripts that are not combat troops. Then they also will not hire, they will not mobilize soldiers that are currently working within the Russian military industrial complex. So these guys will be waived because they are already contributing to the war effort, and also that they will not touch anyone that is studying in the higher education. So they Shoigu also say that these 300,000 reservists will not be mobilized in the one fell swoop. They will only be mobilized in phases. So not sure how they look at this 300,000. Is it eventually we will have all 300,000 fighting in Ukraine, or could this be 300,000 troops in rotation? So it could be 100,000, 100,000, 100,000, and then they're in rotation, and at any one time there are only 100,000 troops in theater. That could also be a possibility. So although they say they're going to call up 300,000 troops, it could be 300,000 troops in rotation. So is in actual fact there's only 100,000 troops more fighting on the ground. But even that, at that number, that will still cause a major problem for the Ukrainian side, because the estimated number of the Russian forces, including the DPR, LPR forces, is around 200,000 to 250,000 troops at max. And adding 100,000 troops into the war zone, where the Ukrainians they are just barely winning, they are just barely beating this 200,000 troops. Another 50% more is going to cause a lot of problems. And if my theory is wrong, and they're going to eventually have 300,000 more troops on the ground, then there's no way I can see how Ukraine is going to win any more grounds. And we also have some numbers. So these numbers are not important yet. I will not cover this because we're talking about the escalation now. So in concurrent with this situation, with mobilization, they have also introduced new laws into their Russian criminal code. The criminal code will include concepts of mobilization, martial law, and wartime. So basically, the new laws will criminalize any actions like voluntary surrender, looting, unauthorized abandonment of their units. Basically, this is called desertion. They will be punished by imprisonment up to 15 years. And they also, if you fail to comply an order during martial law, in wartime, or in conditions of armed conflict, or refusal to participate in military actions, which means that you're mobilized but you refuse to answer the call to mobilization, then you'll be in prison for 2 to 3 years. And after that, there are some amendments that, and they mentioned that punishment can go up to 10 years for desertion. So a bit different from the one on top, but still the full details are not important, because the key point here is that Russia is preparing for war, and these are wartime laws, and which means that the Russian side is taking this very seriously, and this is a sign of escalation. And on top of this, the regions that the Russians have captured or are in the process of capturing, the Donetsk People's Republic, the Luhansk People's Republic, Zaporizhia region, and the Kherson region, are all going to host a referendum for their people, and with the aim of leaving Ukraine and joining Russia. So according to the latest information we have, is that the referendums, so in this piece of information, based on the article from RT, Russia Today, is only mentioning DPR and LPR, Donetsk and Luhansk. And but the reality is that it's not just Donetsk and Luhansk, Zaporizhia and Kherson will also be holding their referendums from the 23rd to the 27th September this week. So the referendum will be held, and then immediately after, they say that they go to hold referendum, and then the parliament of the Luhansk People's Republic have supported the move, and then Donetsk People's Republic have followed together, because in the previous in one of the summaries, the two summaries ago, I've already mentioned about this, and that they are synchronizing their actions and they're going to do this together. And for the Luhansk side, even residents, for Luhansk only, the residents that are outside of the republic also gets to vote in this referendum. So then in Zaporizhia, the vote, interestingly, will be will be for the secession from Ukraine, the creation of a new state, and also the entry to the Russian Federation. So it's a three things that they will be voting all together at the same time. And the Zaporizhia region will declare independence within its existing administrative borders. So this is very interesting because this actually referring to the entire region of Zaporizhia, including parts of Zaporizhia that is still not yet captured by the Russian side, which means this is the border that they are talking about. This border. That means that the people here will also vote for the fate of the people that's living around here. Not exactly fair if you ask me. So anyway, for the Kherson region, the quirk about the Kherson part is the Kherson region's referendum will be that the citizens that has left Kherson into the Ukrainian side, the Kiev controlled side, will not be allowed to vote. But they also reassured the people in Kherson that there will be no mandatory mobilization in Kherson after the referendum. So I think this is probably because Kherson is not exactly 100% or majority pro-Russia. So they are trying to placate the population to tell them that voting to join Russia does not mean you end up fighting in the war. So they are trying to to ease them and to encourage more of them to actually vote for Russia. And this is very interesting because why do you need to say this when according to the West or Western media or Western leaders, they say that this referendum will be rigged. Russia will confirm win. So if it's a rigged referendum, then why do you need to even placate the population? So I'm not so sure. So there is some signs that the referendum might be real. People really get to vote. Also, but the thing is, because it's organized entirely by the Russian side, so it remains to be seen how legitimate can such a referendum be. So together, if you see all this information, which means that this escalation is very serious, because while we have information saying that the conscripts will not be involved in the special military operation in Ukraine, but they said the statement saying that they will defend Russian territory. But what happened if Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson, all of them successfully completed their referendum? They all voted to join Russia Federation and they all become part of Russia. What will happen then? Will this land now considered Russian means the conscript will be posted to these locations to defend that location against the Ukrainian forces? Could that be the case? So that is a hard question to answer, and more dangerous is that Putin also say that they are ready to use nuclear weapons to defend the territorial integrity of Russia. And would this territorial integrity include this newly joined territory into the Russian Federation, the Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson? Are these part of this territorial integrity? Should these provinces or states decide to join Russia and Russia accepts it, would it immediately become the territorial integrity? Would this means that Russia would be ready to use nuclear weapon to protect Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, and Luhansk? Very hard to say, because according to Putin, he said this is not a bluff. And so far, every time people try to call Putin's bluff, things ended badly. So we're not sure. At least I'm not sure how far this will go. And so the Ukrainians only have 1 week. I think now is tomorrow is now is to the 22nd. So they have 24 hours to the 23rd where the referendum will start to go, which means within a week, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yes, just nice, in a week's time, the referendum will be all over. And if the referendum is all over, and then all of them decided to join Russia, and then Russia, maybe within a day or two, confirmed this result and annex all these 4 regions. Would it mean that Russia is willing to use nuclear weapon to defend all this territory in a week's time? It's very hard to tell. So important thing also to note is that the Russian side also claimed that they have already almost 800 air units around Ukraine, 430 aircraft, 340 helicopters. So this size of air force is already bigger than literally most countries. So even in like many of these NATO countries, they don't even have this much aircraft in their air force. This is as big as 3 to 4 major air force combined. Not counting super big ones like United States. I'm talking about like maybe France plus Germany plus UK. Maybe they have these numbers. So this is quite scary. That this escalation is tremendous. The Turkish President Erdogan, he said that after a call with Putin, he said that the sensing that he get is that Putin wants to end this war as soon as possible. And this entire massive sudden escalation looks exactly just like what he's trying to do. He's going to leave Ukraine with no choice. Ukraine now have only a week's window to attack all this territory and gain as much ground as they can before it becomes Russian territory in a sense. And although my gut feeling is that Ukraine will not care at all, because Zelensky have made a statement saying that their positions will not change due to whatever announcement from their enemy, and they will continue to have full support from their partners, and they will want to keep up the pressure, and they will liberate their lands, and they will not show any weakness, which means that regardless what the Russians are going to do, the Ukrainians are going to go all in, and which may trigger the use of nuclear weapon according to what Putin has threatened. But my gut feeling also tells me that the Putin may not want to use nuclear weapon because it will break with precedents. It will actually start off the age of nuclear wars, which is no good, or the usage of nuclear weapons in conventional war, which is also no good. So Putin is a very pragmatic person. I don't think he will do it unless there's some major provocations that cause Russia to consider the use of tactical nuclear weapons. I'm not even talking about strategic, just talking about tactical ones. That's already bad enough. So so the situation now is looking rather bad, and I'm not sure what more Ukraine can do. They are now trying to push towards Luhansk already, and they have captured some grounds like the 2 Belohorivkas and Sperne, and they are also trying to attack Liman region, but they will not be going to make it in time in 1 week. So this is the escalation from Russia. And due to all this sudden change of events, all this sudden escalation, is the entire withdrawal over the Kharkiv region, the defeat, this calamitous defeat due to the Balaklia offensive, suddenly looks very suspect. Because remember, if you have watched one of the summary on the aftermath of this Kherson offensive, or no, this Balaklia offensive, I mentioned this story that servicemen at the Izium front say that the Russian forces have withdrawn in the beginning of September, and he said that should these troops have not withdrawn from their positions, they would have been able to hold the position against the Ukrainian offensive. However, because of all this withdrawal, they are so low on troops, they are unable to hold the position. And he also mentioned that there's this weird situation, this unusual situation where the Russian Air Force is not helping them, it's not around. And then the artillery is also not around. So they just have no choice but to withdraw. So could this be due to some of the DPA viewers suggest that could this be a deliberate defeat, that the Russians trying to find a reason, an excuse to do mobilization? So this defeat, this massive withdrawal from Izium and the Balaklia region and the northern Kharkiv region, basically infuriated a lot of the Russian analysts, the Russian people. They feel indignated because they feel that the Russian military should not suffer such a defeat. And similarly, on the opposite side of the coin, the Ukrainian leadership, the pro-Ukrainian crowd, the Western leaders are ecstatic about the victory over the Russian forces in this western part of the Oskil River. So it seems like Russia but may not be the case, that Russia might deliberately weaken their defense line to lure the Ukrainian forces into an offensive, have a devastating defeat, and then cause a groundswell of support for mobilization. And as such, Putin can then do a mobilization, even a partial one, and quench this nationalistic fervor within the Russian population that they want revenge. And then they have the popular support on the ground to support this partial mobilization. And as such, instead of doing a partial mobilization and get political damage from it, and to spend political credits and political points, instead he gained political points and gained political credibility by initiating this mobilization that the population are calling for. And if this is true, but this might not be true, if this is true, this is some kind of a master stroke from Putin to kind of trick his people into supporting a mobilization so that he can legitimately bring in more troops into Ukraine and to complete this military operation. Because when they first started it, he cannot justify it with any kind of mobilization because it's not a war, it's only a special military operation. So they can only use existing troops according to their laws, and they are not allowed to randomly just mobilize reserves. But now with this excuse, they can now do this partial mobilization, bring up more reserve. 300,000 troops is bigger than most armies, to be honest, in the world. So with 300,000 troops, they are going to complete this special military operation. But then after that, the question will be, but we are probably not sure yet, we still remains to be seen how fast or how much changes would it be on the battleground, on the strategic side of things. But the later question will be, would Russia just stop at these 4 states? Will they just stop at Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson? I don't think so. I think Russia will go for more. I think they will capture the entire of Kharkiv, maybe even Dnipro. They'll capture Mykolaiv, Odessa, perhaps. There will be some kind of escalation from the western side, I believe, or provocation, or Russia might make up some reasons and they can actually capture more ground. But that is not the question for now, because it remains to be seen what's the difference this 300,000 troops is going to make. So anyway, this is the coverage on this situation of the partial mobilization by Russia, as well as the referendum and this entire escalation, this Russian escalation of the conflict or of their special military operation in Ukraine. And I will see you in the next update.